Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Diego. I'll be your Toastmaster for this evening. So, what we like to do before we get into the speeches, we like to go over the assigned roles. I haven't done this so well, so please, so anyone who has more experience doing Toastmaster, please don't hesitate to interrupt me and correct me if I'm jumping the gun on anything. So first, let's hear about the grammarian role. Do we have a grammarian?
As grammarian, I'll keep track of filler words like and I'll also keep track of use of the word of the day. Do we have a word of the day?
Yes, metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis. So if you use that, then that'll be really good, and I'll keep track of that throughout the meeting. That's it.
Thanks, Heather.
So how do you use that word?
A caterpillar undergoes metamorphosis into a butterfly.
There you go.
It's one of the rare ones that we actually know what it means.
There you go.
Next, another important role that we like to have an opportunity for involvement is the table topics master. And I see John Murphy is going to be our table topics master.
That's right. So what I'll do is pick from a random list of questions, present it to the group, and ask for volunteers to answer that question. And if there are no volunteers, I will volunteer someone.
Another important role that comes with the grammarian is the counter. And I see Heather is also the counter for tonight. Is that right?
I'm trying to sign. I tried to volunteer for that.
Yeah, you do. Go for it.
I mean, is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
I think I signed up for it.
Yeah, Heather, we've split it into two roles if we can do it. So she'll handle the kind of fillers and you would do everything.
Gretchen, I'm sure it's no fault on your part. I'm sure it's easy speak being stupid.
Well, I just did it like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Do I just keep track of the word of the day?
Okay,
Word of the
But-
day and then other, Lawrence wanted to do it because of the, oh yeah, look at the click it. Because it's hard to like do everything else and then, but yeah, you
Do I
can,
just
yeah, you can
record
record it as well, yeah.
Use the timer.
Zandra McMillan, but I don't see Zandra's here, so we're going to need another volunteer to do timer, please.
Mike,
Thanks, Cody.
or you want to do it?
I can do timer and she can do the all count. I don't care.
That's
I don't know who's doing what, right?
That's fine.
May I get the guest name?
Hi, I'm Sean Sullivan.
Sean, S-E-A-N?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, not Sean Sullivan on the radio. No, different one.
Let's get that a lot.
My name is Cheyenne.
Oh, Cheyenne. Hi, Cheyenne. I remember you from us.
Gretchen, do you mind sharing with everyone what is the responsibility of the timer?
Yes, the timer will inform the speaker by use of these color paper where they are at in their speech. So for table topics, they will receive a green card at 1 minute and the yellow at 1.5 minutes and red at 2 minutes. And the red is to signal that they should be wrapping up. And the green is to signal the minimum time that they've reached, the minimum time. And that's what the timer does.
Thanks, Gretchen. Not only is it important for people here to have the opportunity to speak and take part in prepared speeches, another important role is giving feedback. And that section of our meeting will be guided primarily by our general evaluator, who is Justin. Justin, can you please share with us what other responsibilities are involved with being a general evaluator?
Sure. So the general evaluator runs the evaluation portion of the meeting and introduces the other evaluators and the counter and the grammarian, and also provides a summary of how the meeting went.
Thanks, Justin. With that said, I see that we have a really exciting program ahead for everyone to be involved in, and I'm especially looking forward to Susan Murphy's second speech. With that said, we're going to move into the prepared section, the prepared speeches section. And Susan Murphy has been with us a few months now. Is that right? I don't remember quite.
Since February.
February, yeah, around the time that I joined as well. And this is her second speech, which is titled "Finding a Life After Moving." So everyone, please give a round of applause for Susan.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm so happy to be here tonight to talk to you about finding a satisfying life. I left out my adjective. After a move. Relocating seems to be very commonplace these days. Roughly 35.5 million people in America move each year, and 10% of those people are actually moving to find a new job or to go to one that's waiting for them. In our Hilltoppers Club alone, 2 members, Rosemary and Mike, have left in the last month or so to go to one to another state and one to another city within Alabama. John and I moved from Texas last year, from Houston, and he came to start a new job, so I came with him. Since moving is one of the top 5 most stressful events in life, I have a few tips to share from my personal experience, our personal experience, about making a big move and enjoying life after. Number 1, you asked for guidance. So John and I happen to believe that nothing happens in our lives without a reason. So when John told me we would, excuse me, we would most likely move out of Houston to come to another state, where he had been born and raised in Houston, and I had lived there since I was 17 years old. So the first thing I began to do is pray that God would prepare a great place for us to come, a church, friends, and a community where we could get involved. I was asking for breadcrumbs along the way. I began to claim God's promises in His Word that He would light our way, and here's one of them. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door shall be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. When we visited Mobile for a house hunting trip in May, before he moved here in June, we found a home we loved the second day out. Fortunately for us, we weren't able to get the house until early August, and I'll explain in a bit why I think that's fortunate for us. One of the first things we did when we decided we were most likely going to live in Mobile was ask for referrals from people in Houston who I knew had lived in Alabama. So it just so happened that through my job, I met someone that lived in Spanish Fort. Her brother-in-law worked for the city of Mobile at the convention center, so I called him and had a chat with him on the phone long distance while I was still in Houston, and then arranged a lunch for us to get together after we moved to Mobile. Well, I was kind of just checking out the job market. I'm a marketing person and they do marketing, so it didn't pan out, but hey, I met somebody new, so that was a good thing. Social media is also great for throwing out those kinds of questions. Facebook, Instagram, people are from all over. You never know what might pan out from social media. Strike up conversations with locals about their favorite restaurants and off the beaten path kinds of places. We had great experiences when we went on vacation. We would just stop and ask the locals at a coffee shop, hey, what's a good place to go? What's a nice hole-in-the-wall restaurant that you like? And it really did pay off. To adopt an adventurous spirit. There's no time like relocating to decide to embrace moving out of that comfort zone. You'll remember that we didn't get our house until a couple of months after we actually moved into town. So why is that a good thing? Because we had to be adventurous. We had to be vulnerable, we had to be courageous, and we had to fight the urge to retreat to a normal life in the beginning of our move. So vulnerable. Before John got here, he made a reservation at the Extended Stay Motel at I-65 at Airport, and if you're not familiar with that, no, don't bother going in. So when John got here and I came later at the end of the week, we decided, no, we're not going to do that. So I used Airbnb to find a place where we could go from there. And one of the things we thought, well, we'll take a look across the bay just to see what the commute would be like for John. And so we did that. We rented an Airbnb townhouse over there. He quickly learned that the commute was not really what he wanted. So, but in the meantime, I struck up a conversation with the owner of the townhouse. We had coffee, and it just so happens we hit it off. We ended up spending 4th of July with her family, with friends out at a park in Fairhope. So it was worth that, just to meet people, and we would have been sitting alone on a holiday had we not been adventurous and vulnerable. Courageous. Our second Airbnb adventure required us to be courageous. I contacted a guy on Airbnb in West Mobile, and he was offering a bedroom and a bath in his house that he lived in. Well, that was kind of creepy to me. So I called him up and I said, oh, can we meet for coffee? And he said, oh, just come on over. So we went over to his house and met him. Turned out to be the nicest guy. We stayed with him for over a month and learned our way around West Mobile. It was just a really great experience. He was just wonderful. And to top it all off, he introduced us to his mother and her husband, and now they became our first friends in Mobile. We do things together. In fact, we had lunch today, she and I. So we're always, she introduced me to some of her friends. We play bunco together, we play cards together, and we belong to a off-site church group together. So very cool thing. But we're fighting the urge to retreat to sameness. Now, this also fits in the be courageous category. We walked way out of our comfort zone when we joined Toastmasters. It's not just a place that helps you sharpen your leadership and communication skills, but it's also a small community. Toastmasters offers friendly faces every single week that you come. They're not always the same, but the core group is the same. So it gives us an ability to meet new people, which is really a skill in itself. Just remember, if you should ever become one of the 35.5 million people who must relocate, try to look at it as an adventure. Ask for guidance, use personal referrals, use social media, and strike up conversations with the locals. Also, adopt an adventurous spirit. Be vulnerable, be courageous, and fight the urge to retreat to sameness. Like most everything else we face in our lives, it's not our circumstances, but our attitude toward that determines how satisfying our lives will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Susan, can I have the agenda, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's good. Susan, I think my favorite nugget of information that you shared was that final sentence. It's our attitudes towards our circumstances that really dictate satisfaction in our lives, and so I'm going to remember that every day I feel stressed out. I see here we have a second speaker, Mike, but I understand Mike has already left, so I think the way we're going to adapt to that is just have an extended table topics period. Does that sound good, John?
I'll give it a shot.
All right. Without further ado, I want to welcome to the lectern John Murphy, who's going to be our table topics master for tonight.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests. I have been tasked with being the table topics master tonight. So I have chosen random topics. There's two ways to approach this. One, I can ask for a volunteer and then give you the question, or I can give you the question and ask for a volunteer. I prefer the latter, just because that's the way I am. All right. What one thing have you not done that you really want to do? Maurice.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. The question that was posed to me is, what thing would I really like to do that I have not done yet? Actually, I do have a list in my head, but I'll just choose one thing. Is travel to another country that I haven't been to before. I have left the country 4 times, and I did have the opportunity to go to more countries when I was living in Germany, but I was 19 years old and didn't know how to manage my money. So I missed the opportunity to go to London, Paris, Barcelona. I mean, I had legitimate chances to go to those 3 places. So, one thing that I would like to do that I have not done is travel to another country. Not just the countries that I've been to, but even more countries. I have not been to the Southern Hemisphere yet. I haven't been to South America or Australia or anything south of the equator. With that, I will relinquish the lectern back to the topic master.
All right. Next question. What do you see when you look into the future? I just saw all the eyes look down. The future is at the table. Diego.
My fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, what I hope to see in my future is a metamorphosis into a very, very well-renowned environmental chemist and environmental pollution researcher. Because I think the environment is such an important part of a person's success, and that environment can be in terms of the air quality in your home, outside of your home, the water quality and accessibility to clean water you have. But it's also important for people to have an environment and a household that is full of love, understanding, patience, and a sincere desire to learn. And while I can't provide that type of household, with my skill set, I can't provide that household of a happy household. I hope that the skills that I can provide in my future, that I can provide to the future of identifying environmental pollution situations or toxic chemicals in someone's backyard. I hope in that way I can hopefully increase the community's level of success in that way. That's what I hope to see in my future. Mr. Tabletop Master.
When I got here a little early, and I stood in line to get my coffee. And it took just a little bit of time for them to get my cup, pour it into the cup, put the little sleeve on, set it on the counter. But it was worth the wait. What's worth the wait for you?
Seems from studying successful people that delayed gratification can be the difference in whether you make it in life or whether you end up in an area of life that you're not too fond of or want to get out of. So I think my question was, what's worth the wait? I think that can be a lot of things in life. So to maybe delay the gratification of partying through college and staying in and studying to get the good grades to make it out and not blow all your parents' money or get a ton of student loan debt without something to have in your hand at the end is important. whether it's saying no to a donut that your coworkers bring in the morning, and maybe just having a healthier choice so you can live a healthier lifestyle for the long term. All those things are, I think, good questions to ask yourself as you go through life. And I think if you ask what is the wait worth, it will be worth the wait for a lot of things as you analyze your life. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop.
It's true that life does provide opportunities to wait for good things. Assuming that everybody in this room was alive yesterday, what did life teach you yesterday? We have a lot of students in here, I know. All right.
Good evening. What did life teach me yesterday? I think I learned a kind of emphasis on a very valuable lesson that I've been going through over the past few weeks, which is self-care. So I work a pretty busy schedule, and it's really important that it's really important for me to be able to take time out of my schedule from working my job, doing different meetings that I go to, doing things for other people, and taking time for myself. I think it's really important that I come to a point every couple of weeks where I can just focus on myself and have a metamorphosis into a more calm being and a more relaxed self. So I think it's really important that I take time and focus on myself, in keeping that self-care at the forefront so that I don't hit a brick wall. Thank you.
Taking care of yourself is very important. Keeping that mind sharp. Looking ahead 20 years. What do you want to remember 20 years from now?
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, our guests, I have been asked what I hope I remember 20 years from now. I hope I remember something. I won't say how old I'll be at that time, but there could be a chance that I might forget a lot of things 20 years from now. I think my hope would be that I would remember all the good things about the people and most especially family members throughout life. I would like to think that I could feel satisfied in the way that our family was raised, in the way that I lived life with people. I hope that I would remember that I had been fair and loving toward other people and helped people when I had the opportunity. That would be a satisfying thing to do, to remember those things in particular. And I would hope that other people, most especially my family, would think of me fondly in my grand golden years. Thank you.
would make life easier?
Toastmasters, honor myself. One thing that I've learned that makes life easier is thinking about the future and planning ahead. I used to just wing it, go by the seat of my pants, just kind of go with the flow. But in adult life, that doesn't really work. I graduated from college about 3 years ago, so I've slowly metamorphosized into a planner, someone that goes throughout my day and think of what can I do that will make life easier tomorrow, a week from now. Someone once told me, think of your future self as another person. So what can I do to help future Cheyenne? For example, at nighttime when I'm ready to go to sleep and I don't want to do anything else, I think to myself, in the morning I will really appreciate that I went ahead and got all of my clothes out, all of my lunch packed. So I think of it as doing myself a favor. Your future self is a separate person. So that is one thing that I have learned that has made life easier.
A lot of people might think that money might make your life easier. That begs the next question. How would an extra $1,000 a month change your life?
I'll take that one. Fellow Toastmasters, I've been asked to discuss how an extra $1,000 might change my life. And I'd say that it wouldn't. I mean, an extra $1,000 would be nice. I could save that. I could take some nice vacations with it. I could cover a really nice car payment, but none of those things would really transform my life or really change my life. Because I think that life is really about what you do with your time and your relationships with other people. And you need to have enough money to subsist, and having more money is great, but having an extra $1,000 isn't really gonna transform things for me. Thank you.
With that being said, what things in life should always be free? Okay.
Getting a little bit ambitious. So I work in social work, and so this question, what things in life should be free, really kind of means a lot to me when I think of the people that I work with. So I work with homeless people, and a lot of people believe that maybe they are less deserving of these things in life that most of us have. But I think one thing that should be free and everyone has a right to is a safe place to put their head at night, food, and security, knowing that nothing bad is going to happen to them throughout their day. I think that services that help educate and help prepare them for their next step of life should be free. I feel that if you don't have a GED or a high school diploma, that it should be free to gain that to help you get employment and to help you improve your situation. A lot of programs charge for that. They don't have a way to get there. So I believe if these things were free, then we would see more people participating in them. So basically just the things that we take advantage of or that we don't even realize that we have, like I said, a roof over our head, a safe place to put our pillow. We know our neighbors should have the right to that and that it should be.
Do we have time for more?
Anybody?
Yes, we've got another 2 minutes or so.
All right, one more. It is really hot outside. I'm looking forward to fall. Fall is one of my most favorite times of the year because it leads into Christmas season, which I really enjoy. What is your favorite time of the year?
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, what is my favorite time of year? It's funny that you pose that question, especially with the weather patterns for the last couple of years. Summer used to be my favorite time of year. But over the past year, over the past couple of years, the weather patterns seem to be strange through different seasons. I mean, we had an early snow in Mobile, I think early December. And these summers are real hot. These summers are getting hotter and hotter each year. I used to say I would rather be, well, I prefer not to be extremely cold or extremely hot, but it seems to be unbearable, this summer heat this year. I would say that maybe late spring instead of summer would be my favorite season. With that, I will relinquish the lecture back to the topic master.
Thank you, everybody, for coming up here, braving the questions. That concludes this evening's table topics. I want to relinquish the lecture back to the Toastmasters.
Thank you, John. With that said, let's move into our evaluation period of our meeting. So I would like to welcome to the lectern Justin Gish, our general evaluator.
So for the first part of the evaluation, we'll be performing an evaluation of Susan Murphy's speech, and Cody will be performing Susan.
I have the pleasure tonight to evaluate Susan's second speech from Pathways. And she is doing the presentation mastery path. I'm going to go over the evaluation criteria that I had for her speech. So the first topic is clarity. I thought Susan has a great tone and pace in her speech. Very comforting and easy to listen to, so I thought you did really good at that. The next topic is vocal variety. With that great tone and speed, you didn't change it too much, so I think that's one area that you could improve a little bit, maybe on some important areas, just kind of raise the volume or speed it up or slow it down a little bit to kind of engage the audience and whatever point you're trying to get across. Eye contact, I thought you did really good. You surveyed the room, you stopped on individual people. A tip that Diego gave me last time that I didn't do so well, so great job on that. Hand gestures and body language I thought was really good. One thing that you could add is just like a tip to maybe take it to the next level is, you can move away from the podium some and, kind of gives the audience a little bit of something different to look at and keeps them engaged. But, you didn't over gesture, you used gestures in appropriate point, so good job. Audience awareness, I can feel that, at least for me, that I had a good connection with you as you spoke to everyone through your good tone and the interesting topic. So I thought you were aware of the audience and the audience was aware of you. Good connection between you both. Comfort level, you seem very comfortable up here. I didn't catch any nervousness, which is great. Yeah, so great job on that, especially just for your second speech. I was way more nervous at that point in time. Interest, I thought the speech was interesting for everybody in the room. We all move something, it's a topic, subject matter that we're all part of and can relate, and I got some good tips so the next time I potentially have to move. And applied feedback. I can't quite remember the feedback that was given to you from your last speech, but the overall speech was great, so I think you did a good job with the feedback you were given. And then kind of leaving comments on a recap. Like I said, you excelled at your speech flow, pace, and vocal tone. You seemed very confident, made good eye contact with the audience. You may want to work on, I would say, try to add a little more vocal variety to some of the more important points of your speech to leave more of an impact on the audience. And to challenge yourself, try doing some stage movement to engage the audience in a different way. A great speech, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to select back to our general evaluator.
So we'll move on to the rest of the evaluation. And Gretchen handled the timing role for this meeting. Gretchen, could you give us the timers for this?
Yes. So with Susan's speech, it was supposed to be between 5 and 7 minutes, and it was 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Then we moved on to table topics. Maurice had 1 minute and 13 seconds. Diego's was 1 minute and 15 seconds. Cody was 1 minute and 22 seconds. Michael was 1 minute and 12 seconds. Susan was 1 minute and 17 seconds. Cheyenne was 1 minute and 5 seconds. Justin was 39 seconds. Cheyenne, for the second one, I flaked and I didn't time you. Sorry. Maurice, your second one was 1 minute and 20 seconds. And then in the evaluation, Cody, your evaluation was supposed to be between 2 and 3 minutes, and it was 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Thank you, Gretchen. So Heather handled the grammarian and odd counter role. Would you give us the reports for the odd counter and grammarian, please?
Sure. Everybody did pretty good today. There weren't really a lot of filler words. I caught a so from Cody, and Susan had a few ums. Michael, I caught one and used the word of the day, so that was really good. Gretchen, I caught a so. Sorry I didn't use this, by the way. I'm not used to using it. Diego, you used the word of the day, so that was really good. And Cheyenne used the word of the day, so pretty good.
Okay, thank you, Heather. So moving on to our general evaluation of the meeting, and just one comment in general, and I'm as guilty of this as everyone else is we really need to use Easy Speak and get our agendas together in advance. And I think that would help a lot of our meetings flow much better, especially at the beginning. We've got the awkwardness of, well, who's going to do this and who's going to take care of that? And I think it makes a good impression when guests arrive, when we show that we've got the agenda together and we've got our act together. So I personally need to make it a point to sign up for roles earlier than right before the meeting. But the Easy Speak is a good tool. I do like the software, so I encourage people to use that. The meeting did start on time. The opening was handled smoothly with the exception of the working out the agenda there in the beginning. The business section ran smoothly, didn't drag on. We addressed the issues and then moved on. The guests were introduced, and they came in during the meeting, but we did welcome them, make it a point to say hello. The table topics were great. I liked the approach of providing the table topic, throwing it out there so people have an opportunity to think about that before they come up. I've usually done the opposite, where you're put on the spot as you're walking up there, and I think that puts a little more pressure on. So I think that's a good approach. And on the speeches, Susan had a great speech. It was very well prepared. It was clear that you put the time into preparing for that. I thought it was very well delivered, and you're very articulate when you speak, and I enjoyed listening to that. And I'm going to flip through my list here and see if there's anything else. Did we enjoy the meeting? Did we have fun? Was this a fun meeting? I think we did okay there. So that concludes the evaluation. Toastmaster. Thanks, Diego.
Thank you, Chris. right. With that said, we concluded our evaluation period of our meeting, and now we will go into the education overview meeting. So this time I actually do have,
You got some, I brought the magazine.
no, this time I don't need, I didn't look at the magazine. I promise this time it's not, hopefully it's good. We'll see. Hopefully I can compare to Lawrence Crompton one day, but we'll see. So I've noticed a pattern when it comes to me with my speech notes. So I've given, I think, 6 or 7 speeches now, and I've noticed a pattern in my speech notes that I wanted to share with everyone in the hopes of making speech making more accessible to everyone in this room today. That's the agenda I have set out for this educational overview for today. Is anyone familiar with this technology? Thanks, Maurice.
I think it should be here.
This remote?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm an overthinker. I don't know how many of everyone else in this room is an overthinker like me. Hopefully I'm the most overthinker there is in this room. And I just want to say, we got to keep it simple when it comes to speech notes, in my view. So this was, and you can click me on that for the sound. The very first speech that I gave, I wrote out. I essentially wrote out the speech notes. It essentially became a script that I was tasked with memorizing each word, each sentence, and I tried to keep each paragraph with the title in mind. That was the first speech that I gave. And my most recent speech has become more of a bullet point format, where I still have some headings, but I have some phrases, I have some ideas that I need to communicate in each section of my speech. And the pattern that I hope everyone sees in this, from my first speech to my second speech, is that there's a lot less writing involved. I think the paradigm shift that happened in my brain by the time I reached speech 5 or 6 was what we need to focus more on is less on memorization and more on communicating ideas and concepts. And I think this helps us create speech notes more effectively and more swiftly because we have so many ways that we can communicate an idea. Like if I were to write out, let's say for example, if I were to write out, if the goal of my speech is to communicate that I earn a lot of money, if I wrote out a scripted speech saying, I earn 50K a year, I earn 65K a year, there are many different ways of communicating the purpose of the speech of I earn a lot of money. Rather than saying specifically a yearly salary, you could say, well, every day I don't have to worry about my financial insecurity, or I earn enough to provide a living for my home and family. And so I think by, rather than focusing on memorizing a script or writing out a script for a speech, if you focus more on bullet pointed notes, that will make the speech making process hopefully happen more smoothly for everyone in this room. I'm not condoning other methods that it takes for you to create your own speech. If you know you are the best speech craft maker in your brain, so this is just one method of approach. And I would actually argue that the primary purpose of doing speech notes is not necessarily to memorize a speech, it's to keep track of how long your speech is taking place. How long it takes you to deliver this piece of information to your audience. So I'm sharing this with you all for the primary purpose of don't waste your time when it comes to making speech notes, in my view. There's never going to be a perfect layout of speech notes. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it, you're not going to make it, your teachers aren't going to make it, the people you look up to, no one's going to generate the perfect set of speech notes for you. So don't set out to make that your goal. Focus on the ideas you want to communicate in your speech rather than memorizing sentences that you're going to rehearse. So that's the conclusion of my educational overview. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn the lectern back to our acting president, Cody.
You said 2 weeks ago that we need to improve our educational overview. You did a great job on that.
Thank you.
The full presentation, very informative. Something that I could work on, because the last one I just wrote out my whole speech and tried to kind of memorize it. So if I would have done it in bullet points, it probably would have taken a lot less time. All right, so we've gone through everything. We have no award. Well, did we get the pins?
I did order the pins.
It's
They
not
get
in yet.
around.
So whenever you sign up for Pathways, you'll get a pin, and we'll have them shortly. Justin gets them from Zord. And I believe that's it. So if anybody has anything else, I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.